Shalom, everyone. I am the Chief Magician in Mystery Babylon, and welcome to my very advanced holy channel. So I think it's always important to say at the very beginning that, this video, and really this channel is strictly meant for Jewish and Christian mystics and Gnostics and Frankists, of the highest order. So, if you don't belong to these groups, then you probably should leave now, as you're going to find a lot of this material very explosive and extremely heretical in nature. So very important to understand. So in this video, guys, I want to talk about and give you a very tiny but very extremely powerful sample of my recent publication, Gnosticism in the New Testament. So this book, quintessentially is the highest, most sublime, most momentous, most powerful book in this last generation. In fact, the truth is that it's the greatest, highest, most monumental, most powerful book of the last 2,000 years since Yeshu, was on the scene. And this is what was made known to me, by the Father, the Mashiach, and the Holy Goddess. And I simply cannot emphasize enough how monumental, explosive, powerful this book is. It's the highest, most important, most monumental book of this last generation, and of all generations, going all the way back to Yeshua HaMashiach. Of this, there's no question. Now, the problem is that, again, the world is drunk, the world is asleep, the world does not know who I am, the scholars do not know who I am, and the religious leaders do not know who I am. I'm very small, I'm very hidden, and, it is what it is. The reason is because the foolish demiurge who runs and controls this concept, it's in his highest interest to make sure that my works do not, get out at all, and that they do not become famous, and that they do not spread like wildfire around the world. It's in his highest interest. He is doing everything in his power to make sure of this. And you can see the control. If you're at my level, you can easily see the control that the demiurge has over this entire construct. I mean, he has absolute control over it. It's not even funny. It's actually very scary. How much total control he has over the entire construct. It's very, very scary. Now, so again, and so even more sad is, I have to do this video. I have to self-promote my material because there aren't people out there. There aren't, important, big enough people out there that know who I am to invite me on their show or their podcast, to advertise and promote this book. So I have to engage in all this self-promotion myself. Even all the Kabbalists out there, are not promoting my book because, as I'm always saying, and this is very important to understand. If you don't know who I am, let me first begin by telling you that I am a Merovingian. Okay. And if you don't know anything about the Merovingians, you need to go do research, okay? They're very real. It's a very real bloodline. It actually exists. And I'm a Merovingian. And because of this, I am the highest Jew, the highest Gnostic, the highest Kabbalist, the highest magician in this last generation. Of this, there is no question. Okay? If you have eyes to see and ears to hear, blessed are you, okay? I've provided all of my divine seals. If you come to my blog, you've come to this channel, you've gotten to know me over lots of time, then you should readily, if you have a high IQ and a high SQ, you should more than see my self-evident seals and proofs that I am who I say that I am. Okay? So again, in this video, I want to, just give you a really small but ridiculously powerful sample of this explosive, powerful, divine content in my book, Gnosticism in the New Testament. And by the way, there's a link in the description to purchase the book. And also there is a link on my blog where I have a list of all my books published. And there you can find a link to purchase the book as well. So I want to talk about in this video, I'm going to basically focus on two matters. Okay. The first subject that I want to talk about is Gnosticism. Okay. And I'm basically going to reveal some of the highest, most sublime, explicit seals and proofs of Gnosticism and New Testament in this video, just to give you a small, tiny sample of what's already in my book. Okay, now, you're gonna want to watch this video to the end, because I'm gonna conclude this video by revealing what I consider to be one of the highest, if not the highest, most powerful, most sublime, explicit Gnostic seal in the New Testament. It is a seal that has never been revealed in 2,000 years, and I'm going to reveal it here for the very first time. Okay, and I'll get to this at the end, towards the end of the video, to conclude the video with. Okay, but in the meantime, I want to talk about Doceticism. Now, we have to understand that we have this problem with Christians, right? Christians, for example, one of their biggest issues with Islam is that the Quran teaches that Yeshua was never crucified. Now, if you're a grandmaster, you're highly initiated, you know this. You know that the Quran is very correct on this teaching. Why does the Quran teach that Yeshua was never crucified, right? Well, there's a lot of mysteries behind this, and I don't have time to get into all of the mysteries. They're well beyond the canon scope of this video, but what I will just very briefly state, that's known among the grandmasters and a handful of people, is that Muhammad the Prophet was a divine grandmaster of the highest order, meaning that, yes, he was a Gnostic of the highest order. And some of these Gnostic teachings got filtered into the Quran, right? But we understand that the Quran is an inferior, corrupted, residual image of the actual original true teachings of Muhammad. This is something that practically all the Muslims have no knowledge of, unfortunately, other than there is one very elite esoteric order among Islam that does understand a lot of these mysteries, but even this elite order is not very well known. But again, these are secrets. We're talking about very high secret orders and mysteries of the highest order that I simply cannot reveal here and are well beyond the canon scope of this video. But going back to the Christians, right? We have to understand that, Christians are brainwashed and indoctrinated all of their lives with lots of false gnosis and false beliefs. So we have to put this into context, and we have to understand this, okay? It's very difficult for your average Christian, to be objective and to transcend, his lifelong indoctrination, to transcend the construct and to reach the highest mysteries. It's almost mission impossible, okay? We have to understand that all of their lives, all of Orthodox Christianity, has been indoctrinated and brainwashed into lots of false gnosis, okay? And so it's very difficult for them to understand these higher mysteries and higher truths. So that's why I want to particularly focus on this very explosive Gnostic teaching. Now, in my book, there is a gate that is totally devoted to Doceticism, where I give lots and lots of seals and proofs proving Doceticism. By the time you're done reading the gate and the entire book, you will indubitably know, without a shadow of a doubt, that Doceticism is a veracious doctrine. Okay? And I'm just going to provide just a few seals and proofs. I'm going to reveal what I consider to be the highest seal and proof for Doceticism very shortly here. But yeah, I'm going to reveal a few seals and proofs. Now, I also want to add that I'm going to reveal a seal and proof in this video that has never been revealed before also. It hasn't been revealed in my writings. It's not in the book. And so I'm going well above and beyond in the revelations that I'm going to be providing here very shortly. It's very important for you all to understand this, okay? Now, I want to begin with what I consider to be the highest seal and proof. This seal is so sublime, so explicit, that in reality, there are no other seals and proofs that are required. Once this seal is revealed and understood, quintessentially, there's no need to provide any other seals and proofs. It's a case. The case is closed. It's a closed case. Okay, it's a closed case after this seal is revealed. Okay, so we're going to start with this seal. So essentially, what we have is we're gonna begin in the Old Testament. So we have to understand that, you know, Orthodox Christianity for the past 1700 years, right, have written many books in proving that Yeshua is the Mashiach, right? And one of the ways that they go about doing this is they engage in actual Kabbalistic exegesis of the Old Testament in order to prove that Yeshua is the Mashiach. Now, the problem is that when the Christians are employing Kabbalistic exegesis, the problem is that they are so stupid and so ignorant that they're not even aware and cognizant of the fact that they are employing Kabbalistic exegesis. And this Kabbalistic exegesis is looking at figures in the Old Testament and understanding them as archetypes, as divine archetypes and prototypes, okay? So they point to all of these figures in the Old Testament that they then understand as prototypes and archetypes of Yeshu, okay? And one of the highest paragons of this is Yitzhak, one of our patriarchs, right? We read in the Old Testament how Abraham, is commanded to sacrifice his son Yitzhak on the altar, okay? And, the Christians understand this narrative as a prototype, a foreshadowing of Yeshua HaMashiach, right? Abraham, we have to understand the entire narrative through its occult symbols. Abraham becomes an occult symbol for the Father, and Yitzhak becomes an occult symbol for the Divine Son, or the Mashiach, right? And then his sacrifice then becomes an occult symbol for the crucifixion, right? Now, the Christians will point to many equations and parallels between these prototypes in the Old Testament and Yeshua HaMashiach, okay? But they, nevertheless, even though they're engaging in very advanced Kabbalistic exegesis, and you can only speak of these matters of advanced Christians, right? You have to be an advanced Christian to start engaging at this level of exegesis. It is good. It's very good. You could say it's top notch. It's very impressive. But the problem is that, despite all of this, they still are ignorant of a lot of matters, and they also overlook a lot of matters, right? So let's look at Yitzhak, right? If we understand that Yitzhak is a prototype of Yeshu, so the Christians will list out many equations and parallels between Yitzhak and Yeshu to seal the proof, okay? So we have all these seals and equations, right? I've already given some. And there is one equation or parallel that is sort of missing, okay? And so what we have is we have a discrepancy. We have a major discrepancy between Yitzhak as a prototype of Yeshu and Yeshu, okay? And it's a major, massive discrepancy that the Christians have overlooked and missed, okay? So let's put this into context, right? We have all of these equations and parallels between Yitzhak and Yeshu, right? We have a major discrepancy. What is that? It has to do with the sacrifice or the crucifixion, because Yitzhak was supposed to be sacrificed on the altar, right? But was he? No, he was not. In fact, a substitute was sacrificed in place of Yitzhak, a ram. But Yeshu was sacrificed. He was crucified. That is a huge, massive discrepancy. We cannot say that we have all of these equations and parallels between Yitzhak and Yeshu with one exception, the highest and biggest exception of them all, the sacrifice. You can't have that. In order to seal the entire proof, in order to seal every single equation and parallel, it is absolutely required that there is a solid equation between the sacrifice of Yitzchak and that of Yeshu, meaning that Yeshu, like Yitzchak, could not have been sacrificed. Okay? If we look at the entire template of Yitzchak as a prototype, that template explicitly dictates and commands that Yeshu, like Yitzchak, was not sacrificed. He cannot have been sacrificed. And that a substitute would have had to been made in place of Yeshu. And this is exactly what the Gnostics teach, because the Gnostics had this correct advanced understanding of the entire template of Yitzchak. Okay? This is the highest seal and proof. Once you fully understand and can see this, which is, it's very simple. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to be able to understand and see the highest principles of logic that we're using here. We're using the highest principles of logic. Okay? So if you're rational, you have a basic IQ, you should be able to see and understand this. Okay? I would go as far as to say you have to be very retarded if you can't see and understand this. So this seal is very explicit. This seal alone is all that's needed to prove Gnosticism. Nothing else. But we're not going to stop there. We can't stop there because the Christians are too stupid and too ignorant, and I would go as far as to say many of them are extremely retarded. So we have to go even further. We have to penetrate the matter even further, unfortunately, which we're going to do here. So moving on to the next subject. So we look at the Advent, the dispensation of Yeshu, and the whole world knows and realizes that the advent of Yeshu is one of the most massive historical things that has ever happened. Right? It's huge. Right? It's huge. You look at Yeshu as a man in his life. We're talking about one of the highest, most momentous, most powerful events in all of history, in all of our history of the entire construct. Right? And when we know and we understand this, right, the Kabbalists understand that everything is encrypted and revealed in the Torah. We'll go as far as to say even in the Tanakh. Okay? So, having such one of the highest and greatest and most powerful, most important men, Yeshu, in this construct, logic would dictate that this matter must be revealed and encrypted in the Torah and in the Tanakh. And many Kabbalists, knowing this, right, they have searched and researched the Tanakh and the Torah to find the revelation of Yeshu and somehow show and prove that this Yeshu is an evil man. Okay? The Christians, at least the very advanced Christians, they understand this as well. They too understand that the dispensation and advent of Yeshu must also be recorded and revealed in the Old Testament. And that's why they have researched and analyzed the Old Testament to such a degree to show how Yeshu is revealed, how the prophecy and revelation of Yeshu is revealed and encoded in the Old Testament, right? I just gave one example with Yitzchak as a prototype of Yeshu, right? So the Christians and the Jews, they understand this, okay? So we have this understanding, right, that there's no question that the revelation of Yeshu's life and ministry and how important he is in our entire construct must be revealed and encrypted in the Tanakh, okay? So, what is the highest and greatest, aspect of Yeshu? I think the whole world can agree that it's the crucifixion of Yeshu, okay? So what that then tells us is that the crucifixion has to be encoded and encrypted in the Torah, in the Tanakh. It has to be there, which then begs the question, are there any crucifixions that occur in the Old Testament? Because if there are any crucifixions that occur in the Old Testament, that is going to be our highest seals that we need to analyze and look at, that will have to foreshadow and indicate and reveal the crucifixion of Yeshua. Okay? So, luckily being a grandmaster and a scholar, I have the answer to the question, this very simple question. Are there any crucifixions that occur in the Old Testament? Well, yes, there are. In fact, the revelation is that there are only 2 crucifixions that occur in the entire Old Testament. Okay? So we're going to start with the first crucifixion. Okay? The first crucifixion is in the Torah. It's recorded in the Torah, and it's found in the narrative of Yosef, and it's the chief baker, right? Yosef, we read that Yosef goes to prison, and he's in prison with 2 other people, the chief baker of the Pharaoh and the chief sommelier of Pharaoh. And we find out that the chief baker ends up being crucified. Okay? Now, again, going back to the Christians have looked at Yosef as one of the highest and greatest prototypes of Yeshu in the Torah. And they list out a lot of parallels and equations between Yosef and Yeshu. There's a lot. Books have been written on this matter. And the expectation is that all of you, watching this video, the basic expectation is that you have a full understanding of a lot of these very basic religious matters that I am talking about here, okay? So we have all of these numerous equations and parallels between Yosef and Yeshu. Advanced Christians understand this very well, okay? But we have a problem because, again, like with Yitzhak, we have one major discrepancy, one huge, massive major discrepancy between all of these equations and parallels between Yosef and Yeshu. And again, that has to do with the death of both of these figures. Just as we saw with the death, we had this huge discrepancy between the death of Yitzhak and the death of Yeshu as it is understood by all of the ignorant Christians. And we have the same matter here between Yosef and Yeshu. Because Yeshu was crucified, Yosef was not. In the narrative of Yosef, who is crucified? Is Yosef crucified? I would ask the stupid, ignorant Christian, is Yosef, you have all of these equations and parallels between Yosef and Yeshu, but is Yosef crucified? He's not. Is anyone crucified in the narrative of Yosef? There is. If you didn't know any better, and I told you there's all these equations and parallels between Yosef and Yeshu, and someone's going to get crucified in the narrative of Yosef, you would expect Yosef to be crucified. You would say, Yosef has to be crucified, given all these equations and parallels between Yeshu, who's crucified. But he's not. Who's crucified? The chief baker, not Yosef. Again, another proof and seal that there's no way that Yeshu was crucified. Can't be. The narrative of Yosef, if we understand the narrative of Yosef as the entire template for that of Yeshu, then Yeshu cannot have been sacrificed and crucified. As we see in the template of Yosef, it was the chief baker, it was someone else, a substitute. A substitute was provided, just like with Yitzhak. Okay? Second seal and proof. Okay? So that now we have 2 witnesses. The Torah says to establish a matter, 2 witnesses is required. I have given 2 witnesses to prove it. 2 seals, case closed, it is proven. But I'm gonna go 1 extra and give you 1 extra seal for 3 witnesses. Okay? As I stated earlier, there are 2 major crucifixions in the Tanakh. The second one is found in Megillat Esther, where we find Haman crucified. Now let's dig a little deep into the narrative. What happened here? We have that Haman, who is the bad guy in the narrative, he wanted to kill and have Mordecai, who's the good holy guy, crucified. Okay? He wanted the good guy, Mordecai, crucified. Okay? But what happened? Was the holy good guy, Mordecai, crucified? No. What happened is there was this powerful switch that occurred. Instead of Mordecai, the good holy guy, being crucified, which was the sole original first intention, it was actually Haman in the end that ended up getting crucified, who represents the bad guy. Okay? Again, this points to Yeshu. This is also, we are given here another template and prototype of Yeshu. Because Samael, listen to me very carefully, because I'm revealing one of the highest keys of the Kabbalah here, one of the highest keys of the Torah. A very, very secret occult key that is practically unknown to all Kabbalists. I mean, there is not even one Kabbalist even knows what I'm about to reveal here. Okay, mark my words on this. Okay, it is one of the highest mysteries of Gnosticism. Okay, who wanted Yeshu killed? Who wanted to see Yeshu crucified? It was Samael. Who wanted to see Mordecai is a prototype of Yeshu. Okay, understand this very well. He is a prototype of Yeshu, and he was supposed to be crucified, but he was not. It was the bad guy, the evil guy, Haman, who ended up getting crucified in the end. Okay? All of this is to indicate that Yeshu, the good holy guy, was not crucified. It was someone else, an evil person in place of him, that was crucified, as the Gnostics teach. Okay? Again, also telling you with Yitzhak, this goes back to Yitzhak. If you're going to understand this extraordinarily sublime revelation that I have just revealed, one of the highest keys, goes back to Yitzhak. Who wanted Yitzhak to be sacrificed on the altar? Who? I've already given you the answer. I'm not gonna say any more. If you have a high IQ and a high SQ, you should be able to fill in the gaps of what I've just revealed and make the connections, and you will have one of the highest keys. I can reveal no more on this matter. So let's go a little bit deeper now here, okay? Because among all of the ignorant inferior Jews, we have a lot of major problems, okay? The Christians for the past 1700 years have tried to convert many Jews to Christianity, right? There's a lot of problems in doing this, right? So let's focus on this narrative of Haman and Mordecai, right? According to the Jews, they teach that Haman is the mystery of the evil serpent in the Garden of Eden. So what we then see here is the punishment of this evil serpent in the garden. So we have, the Jews teaching that, Haman represents the evil serpent that is being crucified here. So what we have in here is we're seeing the punishment of the evil serpent in the Garden of Eden. This is his punishment, is to be crucified. Okay. So that's what the Jews teach. Okay. And so then we have a problem here because, going back to all of this revelation that I'm giving, right? The Jews, like the Christians, are also looking in the Old Testament for a crucifixion, right? And the highest and greatest crucifixion that they see in the Tanakh is that of Haman. And that's it. Bingo. He's the bad guy. He's the evil guy. And so right here we have a prototype of Yeshu. So Haman is the evil bad guy that gets crucified, and he's a prototype for Yeshu. So according to this explicit understanding, then this would then dictate and prove that Yeshu is a Gilgul or reincarnation of Haman, and that Yeshu is bad and that he is evil and he's a false Mashiach, just like with Haman. Right? That's what that proves. And that's why for many centuries, during Purim, many Jews would create crucified effigies of Yeshu and then burn them and parade them on the streets, right? All in all, it looks like a very simplistic understanding, a very simple proof. It's very evident, right? But as I have already just revealed, if you are advanced enough, you understand that as a Gnostic, Yeshu was not crucified, right? So we have a major problem, right? If we're going to say that Yeshu was indeed crucified, then this equates him to Haman, who is the evil and bad guy, which would then be the proof that Yeshu is a false Mashiach and that he is evil and bad. And that's why the Jews, being very intelligent, cannot accept Yeshu as a good, holy Mashiach. And the Christians, in their immense stupidity and ignorance, have shot themselves in the foot by teaching this false teaching, this incorrect, erroneous, fallacious, spurious teaching that Yeshua was indeed crucified. Understand this. I'm giving a very, very high level understanding and wisdom of the matter here that is practically unknown to all Jews and Christians, unfortunately. Okay? We also have another problem because the Jews understand that Haman is the mystery of the evil serpent, and we have here that the punishment of the serpent is to be crucified. Okay? Now, when we go back to the Garden of Eden, right, there, they teach that the serpent is evil, right? And the Kabbalists also equate that serpent in the Garden of Eden with Yeshu. Just as they equate Haman with Yeshu, they also equate the evil serpent with Yeshu. And some of the seals that they provide are that in Bereshit chapter 3, in the original Hebrew, it says that the serpent was the most subtle beast in the garden. The original Hebrew word that is used there is the Hebrew word arum, which means to be very wise. Okay, but it's a polysemous word, like with every Hebrew word, and it also may signify nakedness. Okay, and very interestingly, the gematria of that Hebrew word arum is the same gematria as the Hebrew name Yeshu. So when it says that the serpent was arum, or naked, the serpent was arum, you can also, through gematria, you can read that as the serpent was Yeshu. Okay? And that's a very high seal and proof that they give that equates Yeshu with the serpent. Okay? And so that's a problem again, right? So the Jews, the ignorant Jews, have all of these very explicit seals and proofs that equate Yeshu with the evil serpent and Haman, right? But when you're at the Gnostic level, right, you understand that there in reality is no equation between Haman and Yeshu, okay? Moreover, the Gnostics understand the serpent in the garden to be actually the good guy and not the bad guy on the most esoteric level, something that the Jews have no understanding of and are very ignorant, right? So in order to prove to the Jews, right, that Yeshua is the good holy Mashiach, right, there are two aspects to that, right? One, you cannot teach and say that Yeshua was crucified, because that would then equate him with Haman, okay? And then your proof falls apart. You have no proof, you have no case. Secondly, you have to prove also that the serpent in the garden is the good guy, that he is good and holy, okay? And not evil and bad, as all the Jews and Christians teach, right? The moment you teach that the serpent in the garden is the bad guy, you then have no case for proving that Yeshua is the Mashiach, okay? Now, the Hebrew gematria for the Hebrew word Mashiach is the same as the gematria for the Hebrew word Nachash, which is the Hebrew word for serpent. So we see this very powerful equation between Mashiach and serpent to give us a very powerful hint that the serpent in the garden is actually the Mashiach in reality. This is one of the highest ingredient secrets only known to the Gnostics. Okay? And we have a powerful hint of this in the most Gnostic of Gospels, the Gospel of John. I think it's in chapter 3, verse 14, if I'm correct, where it said there, Yeshua says that just as Musha lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so must the Son of Man be lifted, which gives us another powerful equation between the serpent and the Mashiach, okay? Something that was only understood and known by the Gnostics, okay? So, with this understanding then, right, that the serpent in the garden is the good guy, that the serpent is the Mashiach, then you can begin to prove that indeed Yeshu is the holy, good Mashiach, right? So then we have to understand, we have to have this very telistic understanding of why is it then that on a very telistic level, why is it then that we say and teach that the Mashiach was killed and that he was sacrificed, when in reality we know he was not, right? So this is very important to understand, right? So, you know, to understand this very, profound telistic matter, an introduction is required. Um, there is a very famous ancient wise proverb that states that the elixir or cure comes from the poison. And this is the secret key behind the famous alchemical principle of salve et coagula. Indeed, there exist two serpents, an evil and a holy one, and they share the same root and foundation. And they are two poles of one root. And the momentous equation then becomes how the evil serpent is to be subdued or overcome. To resist and fight, which is the common answer, is foolishness when you understand the highest principles of spirituality. To fully understand this very arcane matter, a sublime parable is necessary. And that is the introduction of a battery. Now, within a battery, the negative charge or electrons represents the evil serpent, symbolizing chaos, temptation, and destructive tendencies, quintessentially evil. The positive charge, holes or lack of electrons, represents the holy serpent, symbolizing order, divine wisdom, or a force guiding towards rectification, essentially holiness. The battery operates because of the tension and integrity between these charges. Neither can function without the other. Discharge as the death of both serpents now. So, when you discharge a battery, electrons flow from the negative terminal, which is the evil serpent, to the positive terminal, which is the holy serpent, neutralizing the potential difference. In this process, both the negative and positive charges are effectively used up or nullified, representing the death of both serpents. This reflects the idea that rectification or resolution comes through the interaction and eventual neutralization of dualities. So we have interdependence. One cannot exist without the other. A battery cannot function with only one terminal. Okay? The negative charge exists only because of the positive charge and vice versa. Similarly, the holy serpent and the evil serpent are two sides of the same cosmic principle. Okay? The proof of the quintessential duality of our construct. Okay? Their existence and resolution are deeply intertwined. The death of the holy serpent, which is the positive charge, facilitates the death of the evil serpent, which is the negative charge. Without the positive pole guiding or allowing the discharge process, the negative pole's energy would remain trapped and unresolved. Ergo, the necessary death of the holy serpent to neutralize the evil serpent. And there are so many more mysteries of this matter of how the Mashiach was born and rooted in Haklipoth. Okay, so lots of mysteries here, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, quintessentially. Now, with this very advanced parable, you can then begin to understand how Gnostic the franchise movie The Matrix is, and why they employed this whole parable of batteries within the movie. Right, the creators behind the movie were possibly very high-level Gnostics that understood some of these very sublime mysteries. Okay, and so this is the highest arcane mystery as to why the death of the Mashiach ben Yosef is required and necessary in order to neutralize the evil serpent and the Sitra Achra. Okay? So understand everything that I've just told you, because what I've just given you is all of the highest seals and proofs of Gnosticism, and why in reality Yeshu was not crucified and could not have been crucified, right? And why this is very important in understanding the highest revelations and mysteries of what took place in the Garden of Eden and why this is important in order, why this is very important, in order to convert the Jew and to allow us the means to convert the Jew properly, okay, into the appropriate gnosis, okay? So now I'm going to conclude this video by revealing, as I stated earlier, what I consider to be the highest, most momentous, most sublime, most powerful, most explicit Gnostic seal in the New Testament for Gnosticism, okay? So there are two levels to the mystery that I'm about to reveal. The first level is just beyond ridiculously sublime and esoteric. Words cannot truly express how just ridiculously crazy, beyond esoteric and sublime the first level is. And there's just no way I can reveal it openly. It can never be revealed openly. It's fully revealed in my Sefer Atziluth, a book which I have already said it many times will probably never be openly revealed in my lifetime. And so I cannot touch or reveal that level at all. But what I can reveal is the secondary level, okay? So in order to understand this seal, a very brief introduction and gnosis of the basic outlines and the actual foundation of Gnosticism is required, okay? So we have to understand the essential foundation of Gnosticism, okay? So I'm going to briefly outline and review that here, okay? Because it's very momentous to understand this seal. So when we're talking about ancient veracious Gnosticism, right, it teaches that, we begin in the highest of heavens, where the daughter of God, who we call Sophia, who is our holy divine mother, resides, okay? And what happened? We learn that she gave birth to an evil, monstrous being that we call Yaldabaoth, which is Aramaic for the child of chaos. Okay? This quintessentially is none other than Samael, or the devil. Okay? We could even say Lucifer, although at the Grandmaster level, Lucifer would not be an appropriate name. Okay? I don't have the time and space to get into the highest mysteries behind Lucifer and the name. But quintessentially, this is what we would call the devil, Samael. This is Yaldabaoth. Okay? Now, what happened was that she gave birth to this monstrous evil being without her holy divine partner. Her holy divine partner was not involved. And so we can essentially state that this was essentially a virgin birth. This was a virgin birth because Sophia gave birth to this evil monstrous being without her holy divine partner, is what the ancient Gnostics reveal and teach. So we have to understand, I'm going to sidetrack here a little bit, we have to understand that the highest mysteries are not revealed in the ancient Gnostic texts. They only reveal a very small sample, a very small portion of the grand mystery, the grand arcanum. So of the grand arcanum, only a small percentage of it is openly revealed in the ancient Gnostic texts. You have to belong to the Holy Illuminati, be it a divine grandmaster like myself, to be in possession of the grand arcanum, which is revealed, by the way, in my Sefer Atziluth. It's very, very critical and momentous that you understand this, that the ancient Gnostic texts do not reveal the grand arcanum. They do not even reveal all of the highest mysteries. They only reveal a small sample of that. And that's the problem that we have with Gnosticism. That's why we have so many people that claim to be Gnostics. The vast majority of them are very ignorant and very uninitiated. And a lot of them, quite frankly, who are in the profane occult space are just really retarded and stupid, okay? And it's very, very sad. Very, very, very sad, okay? It's actually quite scary when you think about it, okay? This is very momentous to understand, okay? So what I'm revealing here is just a small sample of the Grand Arcanum, which goes back to the first level that I cannot reveal. Okay? So what we have then for this simplistic understanding, quintessentially, is that the ancient Gnostics taught that Sophia gave birth to this evil monstrous being without her partner. So it's kind of like a virgin birth. Okay? Now, fast forward to the New Testament, to the Virgin Mary. What happened with the Virgin Mary? Right? We read that the Virgin Mary, who's a virgin like Sophia is called the Divine Virgin, also gave birth without her holy divine partner, Joseph. She was betrothed to Joseph, and she gave birth without him. Now, put this into context, okay? Think of the huge, massive scandal that this caused, right? Miriam is betrothed to Joseph, and then all of a sudden she's pregnant without the marriage having been consummated, without her being penetrated sexually. She's pregnant. It's a huge scandal. She could have been stoned to death. The whole community sees Miriam as a whore. She is now seen as a whore, as an adulterer, as a sexual profane sinner. How can you be pregnant without your partner? You must be either a whore, an adulterer. You should be stoned and killed. Massive scandal. The same thing with Sophia. Here we have the highest, holiest daughter of God, Chokhmah, holy and pure, a virgin. And all of a sudden she gives birth and becomes pregnant and gives birth to this evil, monstrous being. Can you imagine the scandal that this caused in the highest of heavens, in the highest universes? The holy daughter of God, pregnant without her partner? This is the sin of Sophia. This is why she fell from her estate. She fell from her estate because of her sin. This was her first sin. She sinned very greatly, and she fell. We're not talking about the spurious, fallacious doctrine of original sin as the Christians understand it, which they have no understanding whatsoever in their stupidity and ignorance. Okay? So what we have then is we have this powerful, super crazy, explosive, powerful parallel between Sophia and Miriam. Both divine virgins. Both give birth without their divine partner. But there's one major discrepancy. One huge, massive discrepancy. Sophia gave birth to an evil, monstrous being, and Miriam gave birth to a holy divine being, which is the Mashiach. This is to highlight the sin versus rectification principle. Miriam is supposed to represent the rectification of Sophia. Whereas Sophia sinned and fell, Miriam now represents the rectified version of Sophia. Now she is rectifying that sin by giving birth to the divine son, which is the Mashiach. Okay? Now, this goes back to one of the highest mysteries as it is revealed by Rab Chaim Vital in their Lurianic Kabbalah, which is that the great infamous Lurianic teaching of the Klippa precedes the fruit. I repeat, the Klippa precedes the fruit. The Klippa here is Yaldabaoth. He came first because the Klippa precedes the fruit. The fruit is the Mashiach. So, in the initial stage, because this is just a revelation of the stages of Sophia, in the first stage of Sophia, the Klippa came into being vis-a-vis Yaldabaoth, or Samael. In the final stage, brings forth the fruit, which is the Mashiach. The Klippa precedes the fruit. First stage, Sophia in the highest universes, highest heavens, brings forth the Klippa, Yaldabaoth or Samael, followed by the rectification of Sophia or Miriam, vis-a-vis the fruit, which is the Mashiach. Now, what I have just revealed here is just beyond explosive. This is why I said at the beginning that this is the highest, most momentous, most powerful, most sublime, explicit Gnostic seal in the entire New Testament. It's right there, hidden in plain sight. It's been hidden in plain sight for 2,000 years, and yet no one ever saw it except moi, except me. It was given to me. It was revealed to me by the Holy Father, by the Mishek and the Holy Goddess. And when it was first revealed to me, you can only imagine how mindfucked I was. I was beyond mindfucked. I was absolutely floored when the Holy Goddess revealed this to me personally. This is why I'm the highest Merovingian and the chief magician in Mystery Babylon, because I received the ultimate, highest, most esoteric, sublime revelations directly from the Holy Goddess. That's what separates me from all of you and the whole rest of the world. Okay, understand this. Okay, and so now you too should be absolutely floored and beyond mindfucked. Okay, I mean, just absolute mindfucked of the highest order. Okay, quintessentially. And so now, as a result of this revelation, literally nuclear bombs are exploding in the spiritual realms right now as a result of this revelation. That is how spiritually explosive this revelation is. Okay, I mean, it is just beyond bonkers. It is absolutely just staggering. Okay, I mean, the implications and the ramifications of this very sublime Gnostic seal is just beyond staggering. Okay, beyond staggering. Okay. So that concludes this video. As a final conclusion, understand that, as I stated in the beginning, this book, Gnosticism in the New Testament, for the first time in 2,000 years, provides the highest, most explicit seals and proofs that the original gospel of Yeshua was completely Gnostic, and that the New Testament quintessentially is entirely Gnostic. Okay? That is why this is the highest, most explosive, most momentous, most sublime book, in every single generation going back to Yeshua. And all of you watching, it is a must that you possess and get and own this book. And anyone who has not bought this book and has watched this video or gone to my blog, then you are either an absolute retard, stupid, ignorant, or a beast. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's a must own. And if you're going to be a true initiate, a true adept, a true saint, then you must own this book. You have to have this book. Okay? No questions asked. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed this video. And I can only hope that all of you were mind-fucked by the revelations in this video. And thus it concludes. Shalom wa salah.